The Plan Commission meeting of July 6th to order. Roll call, please. President here.
Trustee Kettleboard?
Here.
Commissioner Todd Duquette?
Here.
Commissioner Zander?
Here.
Commissioner Case?
Here. Okay, public comment. This is an opportunity for anyone to address the village board on any issue either on or not on the current agenda. Please observe the time limit of 3 minutes. While the Plan Commission encourages input from residents, it may not discuss or act on any issue that is not duly noticed on the agenda.
So we do have a few that had signed up. First one I have here is Kim Moner at 1809 Main Street to comment on the 1821 Main Street General Development Plan and specific implementation plan. You want to have these done during the public hearing for?
Well, I guess what I'd ask is why don't we allow her to make her comments, but you're going to stick around, right? So you're going to follow up. You can certainly
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'd like to preface my comments tonight by saying I've had several productive and helpful conversations with you, people in this room over the recent days, and I just wanted to thank you all for taking the time to get back to me. And in particular, on Friday, David and Candace and I had a conversation, and that was very helpful. They were able to clarify some questions that I had about what they were going to be doing next door to me. And now that I have a clear understanding of what they want to do with the property, I would like to offer up some suggestions in regards to the volleyball courts and the outdoor music. I do understand that the schedules for volleyball and outdoor music are in a range on the proposal, and that's just to provide flexibility so they're not to be taken literally, which was my first moment of panic. But I also understand that many of the things regarding the volleyball and outdoor music will not take place right away, but are in the proposal to cover any future plans. So with that in mind, I'd like to offer the following compromises and/or specifics be added to the proposal. In regards to the volleyball, if that one volleyball court could remain in the back lot where it currently is sitting, I think that's a good place for it. 2, the poles for the netting that are no longer needed, could those be removed? If volleyball league were to take place next year, is it possible to restrict the number of weeknights it takes place for like 1 to 2 nights a week? If they're going to offer beanbag toss league, is it possible for that to also be on the same night as volleyball so that you don't have 4 weeknights of things? If beanbag toss is going to be available for the general public to play in the lot just on any given day, can that the position of that be pushed towards the back of the lot so that it doesn't align with the back door, the deck, or in particular the windows of my shop? Because during my business hours, it does make our job more difficult and dangerous if there's noises and distractions outside that window when we're trying to work on dogs. So if that could just be moved back, that would be really helpful. And if it was possible to plant shrubs along the decorative fence line on the west end of the lot where the black fence runs from the sidewalk to my fence line, that short portion there, in order to close that gap as well as provide a barrier between the activity on the lot and that side of my shop, again, because of things happening maybe possibly during business hours. As far as the outdoor music, number 1, in case of events or fundraisers, for the number of days a week that outdoor music that they have be limited to 1 night a week. Or if they're looking to provide outdoor music on a regular basis in the summer, could it be limited to an 8-week period such as July and August, 1 night a week, and make it more of a seasonal event? Could we stipulate that all music is acoustic? I do believe that's in there now, but just in case it isn't. And then in the event you have indoor music events like karaoke, could these events end at the time the noise ordinance goes into effect or shortly thereafter, for example, midnight at the latest, versus starting late at night and going until bar time? Could the smokers continue to be directed out to the back of the building versus the patio? And then finally, could, and I know they have very little control over this, but could signage be put up reminding patrons who go out to smoke, particularly late at night, that they are in a residential area and to please be quiet after hours? Again, I know they have very little control over that, but possibly some sort of reminder might be helpful. I'm also making efforts and compromises on my end. Over the last year, I purchased a high-end and very expensive pair of noise cancellation headphones to try to resolve the problem on my end of all the noise from the previous owner. And shortly before this COVID shutdown took place, I did start getting estimates to side my building and install new windows. And I asked these different companies in particular to give me estimates on soundproofing for that side of the building, either more insulation or my windows, soundproof windows or higher quality windows. With that in mind, I believe if we could talk about some of these solutions that I've offered here, that we wouldn't have any trouble creating a mutually beneficial and neighborly relationship between the two of us. And I just like to say, nobody wants this to work out more than I do, both for myself and for Montague's, because as two businesses, I think we could also benefit each other. So, thank you. And I do have the list of things written out if you want a copy, so you don't have to worry about that. I made a few of them to hand out.
Okay, next we have Mary Jo Diebold, 1814 Park Street.
Hello. Welcome, David. Okay, I actually don't have a lot of issues with what is proposed. I just have some questions about the proposal, some of the proposal. When I'm reading what was submitted, let's start with the decorative fencing. When we say decorative fencing, what do we mean by decorative fencing? Are we talking the type of fencing that's in the front of hoodies at this point, or are we talking a 6-foot privacy, decorative fencing? So I just want to clarify that, because if it's open fencing, then I don't necessarily agree with that, especially having parking lot on the addition of a parking lot and it still being wide open to all of that. So I just want to verify that. In the addition to the parking lot, it's fine to have that. I just know that when it was discussed before and doing that, we talked a lot about the drainage and making sure that the drainage does not go into the grass area. It's got to go the other way because there's already plenty of drainage that's happening off of the lot that's existing. Trying to make sure that it drains out to the road or wherever it needs to drain besides in the backyard, because it's already a pool back there. And then I know at one time we talked about lighting in that parking lot. I don't know if the street light that's out on the corner is enough for the difference of the light that's on the building and the light there. And I just want to talk about it and see what the thought is. And then I just want to make sure of another thing, 2 things. So when this all happens, as far as the parking lot and the fencing and all that, will the lot lines be located and marked so that we have a clear understanding of where those are? And then the other one was not proposing any lighting changes to the outdoor space. And Bill and I talked a little bit about that this morning, and I didn't realize that Tom had come back and talked and got the lighting was approved. So I'm good that the lighting's approved, but I just want to make sure that it is not facing into the backyard, which is facing into my house, which lights up my house every night that there's volleyball. So I just want to make sure it's facing in the courts and not in my house. That's all I have. Yes, thank you.
That's all I have for our pre-registration. I do know that there had been some to join us. Want me to go ahead and call them?
Sure.
Nicole Schaefer, do you have any comments or public comment?
Nope, everyone has actually covered them all. So thank you, neighbors.
Okay, thank you. Then I have Adam's iPhone. Adam, do you want to speak on any issues on the agenda or not on the agenda?
No, I'm good.
Thank you. And then I have a phone number, 608-798-3251. I believe that's Trustee Palmakowski.
Yeah, I don't have any comment.
Michael, is that now also you on the list here under Michael?
No, I don't believe so.
And it looks like there is a Michael on the list, but we do not have audio for him. We're good.
All right. We'll go to general business. Number one, approval of the minutes from the plan commission meeting held June 3rd of 2020. Do I have a motion? I have a motion and a second to accept the minutes from the plan commission meeting held June 3rd, 2020. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. All right. Number two, I need a motion to open up a public hearing for a request to amend the general development plan, specific implementation plan for 1821 Main. So moved. Second. Second. I have a motion and a second, open up a public hearing for 1821 Main Street. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Public hearing is now open. Anybody else want to comment during the public hearing?
Do we have, oh, go ahead. Yeah, so David Montag is representing, or the owner of Montag's actually Pub and Grill. And David, if you want to speak to your development here, and we can go from there.
Absolutely. Thank you and good evening, everybody. Happy to be here. Excited. There's a great opportunity, I think, for Cross Plains and our neighbors in total. I've had great conversations with Kim and Mary Jo, and understanding what the issues are at hand and how we can fix them, because we want to be seen as a restaurant with a bar instead of a bar that serves food. We want our hours to be more of a family casual place that closes at 10 o'clock Sunday through Wednesday. Obviously, we know we live in Wisconsin. We feel Thursday, Friday, and Saturday be a little bit later. And if I can address just a couple items, Mary Jo, we will. The decorative fencing will be the same wooden blind fencing that is there now, and would continue down when that happens. Obviously, with COVID and everything, priorities for us have changed, and what we want to get ready and get fixed now. So our priority right now is obviously our yard. Making sure the patio is presentable, cutting down trees. We are going to put up a sand barrier that is going to separate, so there won't be sand that can get into either of your yards. With a strip that is more defined, where we can pull the sand back. I have a professional landscaper that we have contracted and have requested to get on the books to get that done immediately. We'd love to get down to one volleyball court. Just that, like I said, is the north end of the court, towards Mary Jo side, yes. And remove the sand and courts from the second side. The only exception that we ask is, obviously, if it happens, the fundraiser at the end of the month for Spike Red, with coordination with Doug and what he had done with the previous owners about requesting both courts. If we could just use that second court just for that day, if it happens, who knows if it is, but if we could just use that for that day only, from that point after, we would remove everything and the poles to where there would only be one court. We want to make it more of a family-friendly area where we can spread people out and at least come in and enjoy our new cuisine and new food. The slope of the parking lot, I will take that in consideration when that is done. That is not a priority in the near future or within a year, as well as the outdoor stage. Karaoke is not a priority for us as well, because we want to be a family, more friendly establishment. It would not allow karaoke once a month or twice a month as it stands right now. I think in the future, we will get to a point where we can figure out some more, because we know that it does draw in a crowd that do like to partake. I think that is all for me right now. We're just looking to expand, not expand, fix up the outside right now, just make it more feasible so we can use immediately, and look to be open here at the end of the month. So I appreciate your time and look forward to working with everybody in the room and making sure this is a family-friendly environment for Montag's Pub and Grill. I'm now able to say that. It feels pretty good. But to work with both of you ladies, and it has been a pleasure to meet both of you and talk to you.
Thank you very much. Do you have anybody? Okay.
Is there anyone else on the webinar or on the Zoom that would like to speak during the public hearing? Feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand and I can call on you. Going once, twice, third time.
All right, thank you. All right, do I have a motion to close the public hearing? Second. All right, I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing in reference to 1821 Main Street. Any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. All right, number 3, discussion and possible action regarding a request to amend the general development plan for 1821 Main Street.
Well, it sounds like there's an agreement between the new owner and the neighbors, and what will be done. So I think it's what do we need to do to move it forward?
Well, I guess
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll just add a couple comments here. So the general development plan, I believe, is mostly the same in that the use of the property would remain a restaurant, bar, second floor, single family apartment, and with the outdoor entertainment use. The only change I think that's on the general development plan would be to change the name of the owner, because the previous general development plan required that they come in for that. Now, the volleyball courts, the turf or the grass, the way that the fencing is set up, the asphalt parking in the future, I really think that all belongs in the specific implementation plan. And I know that David and I have a lot of time to put all that together. I would propose that after discussing this and finding out what is in and out, that we get more specific detail from David, so that we can have that ready for the final approval at the village board. That way, we can actually see what's been approved, and when we go out to do an inspection, put the specific implementation plan together, that we have something easier to follow. And we have Mike Slavny, our village planner, on here too. Mike, did you want to say anything?
Bill, I agree with your suggestions about getting the details in the specific implementation plan. And one requirement would be that that's approved prior to any outdoor operations.
Okay, I guess I'm going to, there's a couple things that I think belong in the general development plan. I think there was some talk. Let's talk about music, the outdoor music, we can start with that. Not real clear, so they were looking at from noon to 9 o'clock, Friday through Sunday. No music Monday through Thursday. I'm wondering if we put like a cap of like 10 events, so it's not, 200 events, it could be 4 days times 52. I don't know if that would be a problem. I'm trying to get a little bit more detail, so you don't have to come back if there's a concern one way or the other. There was mentioned once if we could is there a number that would be workable for you so we would actually have it in the actual plan?
I don't have a number offhand as in, we're looking to only do it for like fundraisers. So like the spike bread at the end of the month and events like that to where we can help. So definitely not in every week, not in every other week. We could actually, I mean, it's only summertime, so I would say only end of May, beginning, end of August timeframe. So if you kept it at 10, that's probably a very good number to start at. I think that's even a high number. I don't see that many events happening in general over the course of a summer.
I was just thinking, if you did something like every Friday night, you had a band just to bring people in, a singer there. Like I say, I would say 10 to 12 to me would be a reasonable start. I go either way. Instead of having it open-ended, just where there's a little bit more clarity on it.
I agree, yes, we can
That
definitely
would
do.
cover both scenarios, I think.
Yeah.
Either if you just did events, or if you did decide to pick like a 6 or 8 week period in the summer to have an event that's a week, that either way 10 would cover it. You know what I mean?
I just got a quick question on that. So from, like 10 events for the year, where it becomes an issue is potentially enforcement. How do you, someone's got to keep
I
track
can
of that.
give you, because I'll be bringing this up to the next plan commission. I actually have a problem with all the development plans that we have. It seems like every property, people have to come back here to do anything into their business. I think we should be using the zoning code for that, so people know ahead of time, and it's not and I don't know how you keep track of every one of these development plans. We have for so many pieces of property, who keeps track of that? So I agree with that, but I guess what I'm saying is we're looking with this plan right now. I guess it's kind of on the honor system. I think we'll know if every Friday, Saturday night from April 1st to November 1st, there's something happening down there. I think that it just, to me, it gives it a little bit more clarity. That's all.
I don't.
See, and that's the problem. We have all these plans.
And that would be my only thing is I feel like whatever, we can have this get a little bit with singing, but I don't know if they're not going to do it. But I would agree with 10 or 12. I mean, that they're not a whole.
And if it's a fundraiser, not necessarily for the bar's business, it's going to be limited down to even less than that.
Right.
But I would rather start with 10 or 12, and then, when if you go less, before you can go less, then people can come back.
Right. That's what I'm looking
Right,
at.
yeah.
So that would be one, and then for the inside, I guess, is it possible to have it, you had it at midnight, right? I thought I saw somewhere here.
Yeah, all I'm asking is what always was perplexing to me, or what was kind of hard was when they had karaoke, it was when it was always the noisiest, and it always baffled me why it began at 10 o'clock. It seemed to just get going at 9 or 10 o'clock versus starting at 7 and wrapping up around 10, 11 o'clock. And I'm suggesting midnight even would be fine with me.
Yeah, and I guess that's.
If and when it ever became a
And that seems to go into your business plan.
I mean,
anyway.
that does
You're looking at going at 10, and maybe later on Friday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yes, sir. And so I agree with that. So karaoke is not in our foreseen future at this moment. It will get there down the road when that priority is there. And I can agree with starting it at 8 o'clock and ending at midnight.
But I guess my question is, would you like it part of this plan so it's built in so you don't have to come back here when you're a year down the road ready to go? I mean, that's what I'm looking at.
Yes, sir.
If we can get that put into your plan now, then it takes one thing off your plate. You don't have to come back with that if you decide to go that direction. Not that you have to, but that way, if you do decide to expand, it's already here in your plan and you don't have to come back.
Yes, sir.
So would midnight be acceptable that
It would, yes,
indoor more, I don't know, what do we want to, how do you word that, indoor
Entertainment?
indoor entertainment?
Indoor.
Okay.
You want to define indoor entertainment?
I guess it would be anything over a certain decibel level,
or you use any type of amplification. Because I mean, if they got a pool table in there and they're
Right.
running a pool tournament, that doesn't matter, but I guess it's the amplification that we think.
I would agree with that, amplified.
Yeah.
Amplified ones that-
Yeah. Let me just, I can just go through my notes real quick. So I'm guessing, the removal of the net, the bushes, where you put the beanbag stuff, that's all gonna be in the implementation plan.
One thing to add, so he does have volleyball. I mean, if the commission is looking to add that beanbag, whether it be tournament or just use, we should include that in the outcome.
Oh, really? Is it in this part or the implementation part?
Be in this part.
All right, I am okay, I just put it in there that, they'd be able to have, beanbag leagues and tournaments with, I'm guessing you gotta hold that dark.
Yeah, we did, my wife and I partook last year in the league, and it was, it wasn't even, it made it till dark. You played a game or two, and that was kind of it.
So would it be okay to say 9 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
Unless we want to stay together. The other one says not to exceed 9:30 p.m. Where it's the volleyball.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Let's just stay together.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So one's not 9, one's 9:30.
I don't play beanbags, and I don't play volleyball. Is it possible to put the beanbags on the volleyball courts, or do they need to be in the grass?
I don't see why they couldn't. The board that they had were, I mean, pretty old looking board anyway, that I think you could put it in the volleyball.
Just to move it to that back half of the lot, before it moves down.
What's the net getting?
Well, that's why I'm asking. I don't know. That's why I'm asking him. I don't know how easy that comes down. I don't know any of that
And I don't
information.
think it's
I was just thinking if he's taking out that second court and resodding that,
Yeah.
then could it happen there? And more so if it happens on a Saturday, if it happens in the evening, like you guys usually do, start till 5 anyhow, by then I'm done.
Yeah.
It's just, sometimes they would have weekend events that would be up tight to the sidewalk and to the corner of that building. And we've even talked about it in our conversation. The other option too is also for him and I to communicate and him just to say, look, we're gonna have an event Saturday, it's gonna take up the whole lot, just so I have a heads up, then I can look at my schedule if I need to rearrange my schedule for safety reasons, because it's easier probably for me to do that than for him to move an event. I can certainly do that. I was just thinking if you're gonna do a beanbag lead or whatever, once you've sodded that area after you took out the second court, that should be enough room if you ran it this way.
And I guess that would be more the implementation plan where it's at. I think right now we're just authorizing
The use of it.
the development plan. I don't want to get too unless we want to all walk down to the site. I'd rather have the building be down there and decide all this all around. So everybody's kind of comfortable with that? That is the last that I had on my list.
Is the music outside, is that acoustic or amplified? What do you mean by acoustic?
I said acoustic. I mean, nothing through any speakers to where they're just with their instruments, just acoustic. I'm not a musician. I can't really explain it other than it's not coming through speakers, amplified. Keeping bothering anybody in the neighborhood or anything like that, where it's not as loud.
I mean, technically, trumpet's acoustic, which would be obviously very loud.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, acoustic is great or non-amplified music. I think with the other person, I think we said no music outside when Tom was there.
Right.
But I don't know how to identify.
Well, I think what we're doing is controlling, I guess, yes, if they decide to have a guitar and a trumpet and guess there will be some use that for a little bit, but I mean, we can't get so restrictive on what musical instruments. I think what we're looking at is we just don't want to have big speakers.
But from a definition of acoustic, that's what acoustic is. I mean, it could be anything that's just not amplified.
Right. I'm comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with that.
Don't know any trumpet players. do you?
I don't.
I do want to clarify, so the change in the ownership name for the general development plan, will that be, again, limited to this owner? I know that timing was discussed at a previous plan commission meeting. Or, do you want to keep that with the property? I just want to clarify that.
I think this one, I think the owner, yeah, let's do the owner. It is a lot easier.
Yep.
And have you closed on the business already?
We have, yes, sir.
Okay.
We are official.
All right, congratulations.
Congratulations.
And I just want to,
Okay.
again, make a note that in the proposal, he had changing from Main Street mixed use to, as a current, to planned development. The property is now a planned development. We are amending that plan. Just want to clarify that.
Yeah.
You will be waiting something like transfer second. Sure.
And we have ordinances for the lighting and stuff, so
And for
when
the
that,
We would have for the drainage.
yeah, all of that has to be ordinances. That's why it's not included in here. We don't want something different than what they have to comply with our ordinance.
Can I ask the question? So the general development plan that was approved previously, is it the intention to pull that entirely for this new plan, or is it to add this plan onto that? Because they had, the previous plan had the photometric plan, had the site plan, had the stormwater plan in the situation that there is a new parking lot added. I just want to be clear.
Boy, that's a darn good question. I'm thinking what we want to do instead of starting all over again, replace the information we talked about on the current one and just update that. That's how I think we should do it. But if we want to start all over, we're starting from scratch again here. I think it was a pretty solid plan. We just are modifying some of the elements of it because his business plan is a little different than the previous.
Okay.
And that's how people feel on that.
Yeah, I think there's something that we want to just move from it.
Right.
Now,
Having to re-implement everything.
he wants to do the Pikes Rec volleyball tournament at the end of this month, if it can happen. So we have to put in there that he can use that second volleyball court, because we took it away from
Right.
until the end of the month.
Yeah, we can do that. And this, I guess this board goes, or we just give them
30 days.
a waiver or something.
Well, that's fine too, however we want to do it.
I guess I'll leave it up to Bill on what he recommends to the board. We understand what is needed. I just don't know what's the best. I don't want to put it in the plan because it will be done, So we either do a waiver or we do some type of an amendment.
Yeah, I think the waiver would be the preferred way to do it. Because I don't know if with the restrictions now, I don't know if that's going to be moving forward or not. And
Yeah,
so,
I haven't talked to Doug or much of in that respect of the event in general. No go.
what day is that on?
Ours at Monday would be on the 1st.
On the 1st of August. So we have two chances at it for the village board. We have a July 14th meeting, and then we also have a July 27th meeting. and we'll know better where the foreordained plan is at that point, and how the numbers are going.
And the planning commission, I'm guessing you guys are okay with it?
Yeah, I'm okay with
that. Yes, if the board just does it, I'll let them know. All right, Phil, do you have everything you need on this?
I do.
All right, so I guess I'm trying to figure out how we're gonna do the motion on this. So do we want to accept, I'm just following some things out, so only reason, like, to accept the general development plan, for 1821 with the modifications discussed? Or, I'm not sure how we.
I would amend the current general development plan to include the items that have been discussed.
I haven't been writing those babies down.
I've written them down, so I can repeat them.
Okay. So,
You want me to read them first off here?
yeah.
Okay, so I'll change the owner name to David and Candace Montag, or would you prefer that under the business name?
Montag's Pub and Grill.
Montag's Pub and Grill. Two, music for the acoustic outdoor for fundraisers and events at 10 times a year. Indoor entertainment, which includes the amplification, or is defined as the amplification of music between the hours of 8 p.m. and 12 a.m.
We don't care what's right there. No, just
So
the end.
deadline at 12 a.m. Beanbag tournaments and leagues to end at dusk or at 9:30, whichever is the earliest. And that is at the same days as volleyball. And then a waiver for the spike red.
Let's not include that.
Okay, so that's what I have.
All right. Someone want to make a motion?
You also moved, but I haven't said what it should be your motion, but sounds good.
I haven't made a motion, I was just discussing what we need to do. So if you like me to, I will.
No, that's all right. Like whatever. I'll make it.
All right.
Oh, would you rather make it?
No, you make a motion, someone second, and I'll repeat it so we all know what we're.
I'll second.
Okay, well, I have a motion and a second to amend the general development plan for 1821 Main Street with the changes of the following: name change to Monte Pub and Grill, add 10 outdoor acoustic music events. Indoor amplification will end at 12 a.m. And beanbag events and leagues will end at dusk or no later than 9:30, or not to exceed 9:30. Did I hit them all? All right. Is there any discussion? All right. Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Zander,
Yes.
Commissioner Case,
Yep.
Commissioner DeQuette,
Yes.
Trustee Kettlebolder,
Yes.
President Langfeld.
Yes. All right, motion carries. Okay, we're at, discuss and possible action regarding a request to amend the specific implementation plan for 1821 Main Street.
So this is where we can discuss and add in items in regards to the specific additions to the property, so fence style, outdoor stage, turf or grass, barriers, things like that. The removal of the extra poles left over that was requested. Yep, correct.
Alrighty, so let's do the same thing. So, okay, one is removing of the south volleyball court sand. Is that correct?
I think you just do it as court, because that would also remove the holes.
Okay. You south volleyball court. All right, and then two would be remove the netting for that court, or do you think?
I think that would be the court.
Oh, okay.
I would think that way.
Well, the netting is a different structure. So we're talking not the volleyball net, but the netting to keep the balls from going over it. So that's a different structure. Yep. Yep. Have you, David, taken a look at that and if it could potentially be moved? There was a question mark at the last meeting about the potential of moving it.
No, but that was because the south one, it didn't cover the whole court. So by removing the south, the netting more than enough for the north court.
Correct, but if you were to remove those poles, whether or not those poles could be removed.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, we said that we concreted them in.
You concreted them in.
But didn't you ask if it, like,
Yeah, they
in
did it, but there
something?
probably was together. You're probably gonna have to cut them down.
Well, the last pole that's next to your deck does not have a net attached to it currently, correct?
Right, he took the nets down, but the poles are all along the fence, and
So it's already not
three of them
being
might
used,
not
it's
need
just, you
anymore.
left the pole erect, right, in the middle of them.
I was under the impression that, or you had asked him at the last
If they
meeting,
would slide out.
yeah, if those poles just slide out of, and the thing that they set in is cemented in. You know, are they two separate pieces, so they could come out?
Easy, that's just to remove it from an eyesore standpoint, is why I asked last time.
Right. What is your plan, Dave?
So I know the netting now, where it goes, it's all one large netting. It goes from the corner of Mary Jo's all the way around the corner down to King Front, or down to the back deck. If he cemented, I didn't look at those spaces in particular, but they're like the ones that he did on the volleyball court. It is cemented with it going in, but it's then cemented in again or glued in. It's in there if he did the same thing. But I have not looked at the netting because I did notice a gap there where the second court ended and the netting ended and there was a gap. I don't know if it's gap at that, how far back to take that, or because it's not like the holes are that close together. If we drop one, if it would affect that first court, the north court. That's something I'd have to go up and look to see where that one ends and if that affects the first court. Yeah, or if it's, how we could just make it where there's just nothing that can get through over there, and if it does go, it's wide.
If they could take that netting down from the court you're taking down, but take that on the outside, you take that down, give it a bigger possibility for the volleyballs over your yard.
Right, but all I'm saying is, it doesn't have to be all the way up as far as it is now because we're taking that court out. I didn't realize that net was one piece.
Yeah, I went and grabbed it because it was stuck in the weeds when you saw us, Candace and I were grabbing that up, and it is one long weed.
Why don't we just leave this as an unknown right now, and I just think that's something that maybe, hopefully it can be resolved by looking at it, and maybe the last pole's not needed. I don't know where the poles are, or how that would affect, but let's just leave that off right now. And we can take a look at that. right. How about, bushes along the west property, from where your fence ends to, I guess, the sidewalk?
That, just that one little strip there, I'm not,
10 feet maybe, so like 3 or
I'm-
4
I'm
bushes,
just asking.
arborvitaes or
and I,
something.
we got something nice to contribute.
You okay with putting that in?
Yeah, we don't have an issue with putting that. I know we're trying to clean up that stone area where we might, and put in something nicer. I can just have the landscaper drop a couple, make it all uniform. So it's pretty this in there now, and we just add a couple more.
Okay.
We can put one like right where that gap is and that close it off.
All right, everybody comfortable with that? Yeah. All right, and then, the fencing, I guess, it's just a continuation of what is currently there, or that, and I thought that was already in the plan.
Yeah.
If I remember way back when they were talking about putting the parking lot.
Yes, it was already in the plan. It didn't specify as to what type of fence. Now would be the opportunity to clarify that. I think at the last meeting, it was clarified that the fence did not need to go in until the parking lot was extended. So if that's still the same, we don't need to make that change, like stay in the general development plan.
Is there anything else?
Can we, Mike Slavely, do we have an ordinance on what material a fence has to be made from?
We do, but as a plan development, I would recommend that you specify it. I think solid wood 6 feet tall would do the trick.
I mean, that's, you said you wanted to just continue the dog-eared boards that were there.
Correct.
Is that a 6-foot wood fence?
I don't know if it's 6 foot, but it's wood.
I believe that's about, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the same.
Yeah.
It's even with mine's 6 foot.
All right, put that in.
Was there going to be a stage outside, David?
Not this year, but I could see if we get to that point, possibly either next year or maybe the year after, yes. We'll probably just build a like a decking, like composite, decking.
Something like 10 foot by 10 foot?
10 foot by 10 foot, just enough to get, a couple pieces of trumpet players.
So is it gonna be on top of the patio, or?
It would be off, if you're coming out facing Kim's property, it would be, right there. So just slightly to the right, as you're coming out the back door of Montez.
That one shows a 15 by 15, but we're saying 10 by 10.
And what are we calling that? A stage?
Outdoor stage. Outdoor stage. David, is this area meant to be grass?
It will
or-
be grass. It will have to be, in one of our phases, it'll have to be resod. Not something we can afford this year, unfortunately, but, it will be turned back into grass. But we do have to put up the barrier along the fencing, that were, not requested, but, beneficial to prevent any, sand getting, underneath the fence. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna, bury half the barrier and then have, the 4x4. So probably 2 feet deep and then 2 feet high, just along the edging there, to prevent any sand.
And that most likely is part of the implementation plan that Tom did, because we adjusted it last meeting. And we talked about putting a berm or something along the lines to keep the sand going in. So that would fall under that, I believe.
All right, anything else?
I saw you was mentioned about marking the lot lines, but is that an issue?
Not until, I guess, the event that we do add on to the parking lot where we have to put the fence in to make sure we're on the right line, to make sure I'm not cutting over in the radio side. Yes.
I think that's part of what is in the fence. Especially if you're going to put a parking lot.
Is the fence behind the barbell person completed? It rolled that part up.
That part, that little section right there. So we are going to do that. Probably once you drop the trees. We've got extra fencing that is sitting kind of in our patio area that we'll use to at least finish it to where it is to the existing parking lot.
All right. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion of the site implementation plan to be transferred along with the adjustments that Jay will read. Because I lost my pen on the way here.
All right. Do I have a second?
A second.
All right, so I have a motion and a second to approve the request to amend the specific implementation plan for 1821 Main Street with the changes of 1, removal of the south volleyball court, 2, plant bushes / trees on the west side of the lot, 3, a 6-foot fence, a 6-foot wood fence on the continuation to when the parking lot is expanded, and 4, outdoor stage of 10 feet by 10 feet. Is there anything, Bill?
No, I have to return the volleyball court to sod, but we'll just make that happen.
Well, I don't know if I don't have a problem if he takes the sand out, puts dirt down and seeds it, right? I mean, we don't.
Okay.
It doesn't
So
have
we'll
to
get.
sod. It'd be a little cheaper doing it that way. All right, so I have that, any discussion?
But he's showing a 15 by 15 on the stage. Should we keep it at the 15 by 15 or insert the thing? Ten by 10 is not very big.
Oh, I thought that was a 5?
It says 15 by 15. Oh, I interpret this 10 by 10 also.
I did too.
It says 15 by 15, but also remember this drawing is not representative of what's on the ground out there.
Do you really, how many people, musicians do you think you could put on a 10 by 10? 10 by 10 is pretty tight. 10 by 10.
Well, that was my I saw no problem changing it to 15 by 15.
And then you can always go smaller.
Yeah,
If we say 15
yeah,
by
go
15,
15 by
and you do
15,
10 by
yeah.
10, you're fine. You can always go smaller. Okay, so why don't we do that? Just to give them another one.
All right, any other discussion? All right, let's do a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Calvert,
Yes.
Commissioner DeQuitt,
Yes.
Commissioner Case,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sander.
Yes.
President Runfeld.
Yes. All righty, thank you very much. Appreciate everybody working together on this. All right, number 5, review and discussion regarding official mapping of burial plot review.
So this was something that had been discussed, I believe, at the Plan Commission quite a few years back. And it was dropped because of some concern over Highway 14 bypass. I think that at the time had it going through the town of Cross Plains. And it was contentious. However, I believe that a official plan or official map is still important to the future planning of this village, and also to the to understand where we're going, especially when we're talking about future wells, which are on here, reservoirs, but we started talking about flood mitigation and mitigation control, those type of items. Infrastructure should be identified by staff and the plan commission and the village board, so that when we do have developments come in or developments in the township, we'd be able to refer to this as a extraterritorial power of the village. I've included the map and then some pros and cons put together by Mike Slavny, our planner, as part of our packet. I don't need anything specific today if you're not prepared for that, but please do review that and provide us with comments so that we may be able to bring this up back to the Plan Commission in the future. Mike Slavny, did you have anything to add or would like to add anything?
I would like to add a few points. The purpose of the official map is to reserve locations for municipal facilities, the most important of which are things like stormwater basins at low points and water towers at high points, where there's really one best location for each of those in a given neighborhood. Another thing the official map can do is depict the general location of future roads and extended roads. And finally, it's a good map to place the village's extraterritorial jurisdiction boundary on, which on this map are shown in red. This map was put together 10 years ago, and it's a bit out of date. Some important things have changed, and within the coming months, we're likely to get some annexations, and those boundaries will change, and that may move the extraterritorial area, which is located 1.5 miles from the village boundaries, unless it bumps into the extraterritorial area of another city or village. Because Middleton Town and Middleton City have an intergovernmental agreement, the village of Cross Plains 1.5 mile area does not bump into the city of Middleton 3 mile area. Otherwise it would. So I have to work with other village staff members, with Jerry and Mike Axon in particular, to update this 10-year-old map to reflect more recent utility and infrastructure planning. And we have a park plan that was done about 4 years ago that we would need to include the location of planned parks at. So there's some work to be done to bring this map up to speed. Once it's adopted, then within the village, the village would have what amounts to the first right of refusal if a building is proposed where a well or a water tower or expanded road is located. The village would have to go through the typical process of getting a fair market appraisal of the property, but it's a way to ensure that really important sites for infrastructure aren't lost. It also is a way to get existing roads dedicated to the public, or where needed because of traffic or side slopes, get wider rights of way identified. And those are the yellow squares on this map. And again, some of those factors have changed as well. But, the official map cost a few $1,000s to put together. And the first time you use it to protect a site or get a right-of-way dedicated, it's already paid for itself. It's probably the most cost-effective tool a village has in terms of making sure that the appropriate sites remain available for public use and don't have to be located that doesn't somewhere else that doesn't work as well. So this got put on hold. You can see it was never adopted. And after we get done getting updates from village staff, the process for adoption is to bring it to the Plan Commission and a Plan Commission recommendation to the village board. And the village board would adopt this as an ordinance. I talked to Bill about it, and we thought the timing's right with these new plats coming along as a reminder that it's a good idea to have one of these adopted. And we'd like to proceed with bringing it up to date.
Any questions from the Plan Commission?
I think it seems like a good idea, particularly in this part of Maine County, which is growing rapidly. It's helps protect our interests. Seems like it would be cost effective at that dollar amount. Seems like a good idea. I don't remember why it didn't move ahead before. Is there a reason it didn't move ahead that you remember, Mike?
Yeah, my recollection was this happened when Matt Schenke was here, and I believe Kurt was the village president, and he put a stop to the map. He felt, I think, that Matt was pushing too hard, but that was quite a while ago, and I think we've got a good handle on what needs to be mapped. The bypass is a moot issue. It was by far the most controversial issue. And most of these other recommendations are already in our adopted comprehensive plan, the utility plans, or the park plan. So it's more or less an inventory to get what's in the existing plans onto this map.
Well, having heard that, I still think it's a good idea. All right, I guess we'll move forward with it. I don't think we need to take any action, do we?
No, we don't. So if you have any additional comments, staff and us will continue to work on it. We'll budget into the next year.
Well, the only thing I would throw out there is, since we're already talking about doing a study for water utilities, really should wait for that to be done, because that'll be talking about future tanks and future wells and stuff, and if we're gonna do this, that should be proper for that.
Correct.
So I would say I don't have a problem moving forward with some of this, but I don't want to approve it until we get done with the water utility stuff. We already passed funds to do that study.
I agree.
All righty. So to number 6. I'm not really sure what this is really all about anyway.
But one of the questions
So this, so the precursor to this was the official mapping and extraterritorial plot review. We are a signer on this survey plot. It is in the town of Middleton, however, within the 1.5 miles. And however, because of the lack of tools that we currently have for plot review, the Helen brands are still asking that the village review this and approve it. We've done this before. Mike Slavny, can you help me here in regards to what we are approving here?
Right. Well, this is an unusual certified survey map because it's combining two lots. You can see the big bold lot 1 that's underlined in the middle of the map. And there's a diagonal line that goes through that label. And that is an existing lot line that was created by Certified Survey Map 14831 into a lot 1 to the north and a lot 2 to the south. And this map is proposing to combine those two lots into a new lot 1. But this is a good example to look at. On our official map, we show that Airport Road needs to be realigned and the curves, the S curves, made more gentle. I've slid off the road a couple times there as a teenager. and you can see that in working with the town and Dane County over the years, beginning to soften that curve has already happened. You can see down in the lower left-hand corner the label Airport Road, and the town and the county have already worked to kind of cut that eastern curve and make it a much more gentle curve. Ultimately, the western part of the curve will also be more gentle. So in this instance, the county and the town are on top of things. There's really nothing the village needs to do but to approve the map. That would be a recommendation from the Plan Commission to the village board, and the village board would authorize the village clerk to sign the next page of the certified survey map.
Good. Thank you. Judy?
Mike, last time we brought this here and we approved it, at that point in time, they already said that they were gonna soften that corner, but now there's a house there and they haven't. So do you know what the time frame is that they are gonna do that corner?
Well, you can see that down below where it says Airport Road, and then just to the left of there, it says width varies. Right. So that.
Planted, it's all grass and huge shrubs. That was years ago.
Right, but now it's not supposed to be that 90-degree corner anymore. I thought they were taking that out. That's what they brought it last time. Last time we just saw this, which was not too long ago. They said they were going to get rid of that 90-degree corner and they were going to soften that.
Well, you know, I think they've gotten rid of it on paper.
Right. But we approved it last time.
But they don't have all the property they need yet to put it on the ground.
But this is just to combine the two lots. It has nothing to do with the road. This is a citizen wanting to, I suppose, want two lots for a house.
Usually we see those, it would be one lot that they want to divide into two. Here it's just two into one. They will run.
All right.
I'll make a motion to combine lots 1 and 2 into single lot.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve joining of the two lots. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. So moved. All right, number 7, discussion and possible action on the Scenic Valley variance request to exceed the 2020 construction.
So this is a variance request that's come in from the Scenic Valley Development Team. They have not started work on this property yet. We are currently waiting for a security bond or a letter of credit of 120% of their phase 1 construction costs. The village did approve a variance to start earlier than allowed in the ordinance. allowing them to start April 1st instead of May 1st. Here, because they have not started yet, they are requesting that construction go through December 15th, 2020. I do want to remind the Plan Commission that in order to approve this variance, you would need a supermajority, so 3/4 of the Plan Commission. We do not have that here today. So, a couple options.
You need 3/4 of the members on or the members present?
Of the members on.
That's what our ordinance says?
That's what the ordinance says.
That's state law.
So, a couple ways you can go about this is to table it to the next meeting. Provide some direction in potentially something that could be approved, and table it, but up to the Plan Commission. We do have Adam Ryan on the phone here, or on the chat here, and I believe he's available to answer any questions.
Well, should we even discuss this? I mean, I don't know what other people's feelings are. If we don't have the, it's got to be tabled.
The only thing I'd like to know is, I think in the material that you sent to us, Bill, you actually did you make a recommendation that we vote no on this? Or
I did. So the recommendation was to vote no because we did not yet know when they were going to start construction. I felt it unnecessary to provide a variance and not know. I think that if we have a solid timeline, they've started construction, and later in the year when they know that they actually need it, that would be a more proper time to request.
We're going to discuss this then.
Yeah.
The most I would do is go to September 30th. I mean, we've bent over backwards, speeding things up so they could get started. Then really, they're all been in their court, and they haven't, speeded this up. If you remember all the extra meetings we had to get this thing going, and I don't want to risk the environment on something like this. I think I'm comfortable with going to end of September. I think a lot of places would do that, but I think you need the month of October to get the grass going and stuff like that. I would not want to go too with fairground, because then in the spring we're going to pay it. But again,
We need a motion to table.
We can take a motion to table it for the next meeting, and then what I can do is go back to the developer and instruct them on whether or not to withdraw the request and putting it.
yeah, that's why that's why I wanted to give it, because it makes no sense to refer to the next meeting if 5 people aren't going to support it.
Okay.
is there a clock that's ticking here? I mean, if they don't start construction, when do they have to resubmit?
So the final plot has been approved for this. If they do not complete construction, I think the only deadline that's in the development agreement pertains to the surety bond, in which it needs to be complete within 12 months. If it's a letter of credit, the letter of credit can go to the end of construction. So I believe that's the only deadline that I remember being in there.
12 months to be when.
Well, they have
When,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the December seems too long to move through. Do you have any sense of whether this is, is this COVID related somehow? I mean, is this because market sentiment there should be? Or is this something developers?
Well, I think it's related, but I wouldn't want to assume on something like this. I mean, the surety bond that we're asking for, the letter of credit, is 120% of their construction costs. So that's a very high number.
I'll motion to table it.
All right, I have a motion. All right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All say. So moved. I have a motion for adjournment. Yes. So moved. Second. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.